For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson and Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. 30 minutes of time-wasting fun and maybe a little bit of crime prevention today. Crime prevention. That's exactly what you expect from an entertainment host, a celebrity correspondent. You know what? I'm going to tell you how to not be... because there's been a whole bunch of situations recently where I've kind of thought about, well, what would happen if... and then, fill in the blank, right? And so I've come up with some creative ways to not be a victim. And if anything, get the last laugh with the potential criminal. It doesn't make sense right now, just in the first 30 seconds that I'm telling you, but I'm going to explain it in detail. Let me also just be... We're setting up for a bit of a break, a time off. And so it's sort of like the last day of school for us, which means, you know what I'm talking about? When it's your last day of work before you're going on vacation, you don't give a shit about things. And same thing with like the last day of school before Christmas break or spring break or summer or whatever, right? You're just kind of, I'm going to show up and just, I'll be there physically, but my mind is not, I'm not there mentally, right? So that's the mood, that's our vibe today, which explains why I'm going to be giving you crime prevention tips on the show. It's, you know what it is? It's not even that I'm at a certain age where I feel like I can just say whatever the hell I want. I've been in broadcasting for so long that I can say whatever the hell I want now. I've been in this over 20 years now. I'm not just some podcaster who's set up in his parents' basement and, doing jump cut edits and with a ring light and whatever. It's like, no, I'm in a freaking actual radio studio of our company that we own. So anyway, sit back, grab a pen, notepad. My crime prevention tips are coming up after the break.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
Jeremy Bradley here on The Scribble. In crime-ridden Los Angeles, I should also point out. Now, one of the things that we see on the news quite regularly, actually, is pet theft. You might go and say, like, what? What? People who would just come to the backyard and steal? But, well, yes, actually, some people have done that. And we also see that some people are getting jumped when they're out walking their dogs. It happened to Lady Gaga, and that's actually kind of right. When her dog walker or her whatever house sitter or something was walking the dogs. Remember about that? So it happens quite a bit here in Los Angeles. Not so. I mean, we're in a nice area of West Hollywood, so I mean the crime isn't. We have a decent neighborhood. But anyway, so it was one day when I was out just walking my dogs, and I kind of thought, what would I do if that happened, right? You think about, you always have these plans of, if a fire breaks out in the house, okay, these are our escape plans, right? This is what we do. This is what happens. Or if there's an intruder, okay, this is what well, for you Americans, you grab your gun. I'm a Canadian. We don't think that, but right, you kind of play these things out. Now, I got to tell you, we have a house in Winnipeg as well. Somebody did try to break in. One person or two people, we don't know how many it was. But there was an attempted break-in of our house when I was home. And I got to tell you, you don't know how you're going to react in a moment like that. So it is one thing to go and say, as an American, I'm going to go to my gun safe, grab the gun. No, because I didn't even know what was happening at the time. My husband wasn't home. So it was, it's one thing to say, this is what I'm going to do, this is the plan, this is whatever. It's another thing when it's actually happening, okay? Do I have time to tell that story? All right. Well, you know what? I'm talking about crime prevention, so you know what? I might as well. This wasn't part of my creative thing that I mentioned at the top. So yes, okay. Here's the thing. We actually, we have two houses in very nice neighborhoods, one in Winnipeg, one in West Hollywood. And so crime isn't necessarily really a big problem in our neighborhood, or at least I didn't think it was. And we're going back about, actually, you know what? I don't even know that my husband was around. No, I think I was single, so I was on my own in my big house. That's right. This was more than 10 years ago now. Anyway, so because, as I mentioned, I'm on the radio and I'm in a radio studio now, I have a radio studio in my actual house, or an actual radio studio in my house, because I was hosting our syndicated radio shows, and we just felt as a company that we'll have our regular studio, and then perhaps if something happens there, or if I'm, whatever, I can always just tape from home. So and that's in the back of the house, facing our backyard. So you know how when you're growing up, your mom always says to you, or said to you, don't leave the lights on. Like, turn the lights off. You're not in the room. Turn off the lights. Turn off the lights. Even in the daytime. Like, why do you have the lights on? The sun is out, So I was in my office in the house, which doubles as the radio studio, and I didn't have the lights on in the front, like in the living room, or, like in the front part of the house, because I wasn't there, right? And again, it's a big house. So, I'm not going to, I think about when I watch shows like The Bachelor and Bachelorette, and they have every single fucking light on in the house, because it's a television production, so of course they do that. But I look at that and go, no, you don't have every light on in the house. That's just not how houses are. You just don't do that. So why would I have lights on in the front of the house if I'm not there? Right? I'm in the back of the house. Why am I, at the time, I guess I was 30-something years old. I was doing what my mom told me. I didn't have the lights on in the house. So I'm in the office. I don't think that I was taping something for the radio, but I was probably working on something radio related, because it was at night, and that was generally the time that I did it. So I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden the doorbell starts going like frantically, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, which is also really weird, because if it's somebody that or if it's somebody, it's going to be one press, right? Ding dong, they're going to wait. Maybe they'll 20 seconds later ring it again. And then there's no answer, then they leave, is kind of it. And for me, again, living on my own in a big house, whatever, I had a policy, and I still do to this day, that I don't answer the door. So if I'm not expecting something or someone, then you will just get the doorbell, and that's it. Nobody's going to come to the door. It's not a matter of like having ring cameras and screening or whatever. It's like, no, seriously, I just don't. It could be, and it has happened in the past where, even a family member, it's like, well, I don't even go to the windows. I don't look. I'm not expecting anybody. So yeah, we don't have just drop-in company at our place. It doesn't happen that way. Definitely you need to make an arrangement to show up, because you ain't getting in. Especially now after this incident. So the doorbell's going crazy. And I had, it was before these two dogs. I had a golden retriever and I had a lab cross back then. Now I've got a golden retriever and a husky. And of course these are the most, playful. They'll lick you to death rather than maul you to death. So I'm in the back of the house, and ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. Now, again, a doorbell, your front doorbell and your back doorbell or your side doorbell can have a different sound. I mean, how many people know which is which? Probably not many. So I was just like, okay, whatever. So I went to the front. Now there's a way that I can look out the front to see the front door, whoever is standing there, not looking out the window that they would be at the door, but I can go and see. But it was nighttime, because it was winter, and it was, early evening. So it was pitch black outside. So the doorbell had stopped, and of course the dogs are kind of running around the house and barking, and then the doorbell is again ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. And I was just like, what the hell? It's so strange. Keeping in mind, this is before the days of, Uber Eats and DoorDash, and it was evening, so it wasn't going to be a UPS or a FedEx delivery. It was nighttime. So then I do go to wait, where did I go after that? I kind of just stayed where I was. I was like, oh, whatever, I don't even know, because the doorbell rang. It did the two things. Then all of a sudden I hear beep, 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 back door, which is generally what the alarm does when the back door is open. And I thought, okay, that's kind of odd, because here's the thing. I live alone, and nobody else has a key to this house. So that's really weird. Right? Because, do you know what I'm saying? Even if I were an American and I had guns, which I don't have a gun, I still wouldn't. Somebody's ringing the doorbell. Would that be enough to send me to go and grab a gun? Right? I mean, that's just not how Canadians think. So then to hear that, again, it's just confusion. It's confusion, right? Because it wasn't glass shattering. It wasn't, I just hear beep, 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 back door. Right? I mean, what would you think? I don't know. What's going on? There's no loud crash. There's not, So to get to it's a side door. It's not a back door. So to get to the side door, you've got to open the kitchen door, and then you go down like the two steps, and there's like that platform thing, right? So I was kind of just like, all right, well, let me open the door. I'm going to like hide behind the door. I'm going to open it, and then my dogs can, if there's somebody there or whatever, then, the dogs will. So I go and I open the door, and I'm hiding behind it. I open it a little bit. The dogs go running downstairs to the basement, come running back up, and I was just like, okay, so how is the back door open? So then finally I take the couple steps down, and I'm standing right at the back door now, and then I just see this silhouette. There's a black silhouette. Now the back door was the top, like almost like top half was a window, but it had like 9 panes or whatever. Like it wasn't like a solid door that just had a peephole. There was actual, like half of it was windows, right? The top half was windows. And I just see this silhouette, and then it just disappeared. In that moment, I don't even know, did it go to the left? Did it go to the right? I don't even, not a clue. Not a clue. So my instinct was I dropped to the ground. I went down low as though like, okay, maybe they didn't see me. I'm going to hide, right? I'm going to go down. But the door's not open. So why did it go beep, 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 back door? Again, I'm in pitch black. The dogs are running back. I have no idea what's happening. Not a clue. So I'm sitting down there. I'm sitting on the floor, like up against the door, and just now I'm in a panic because I'm confused. This is very confusing. It says back door's not open. There was just a silhouette. Doorbell. Dogs are running around. I'm by myself. Geez, really. So I give it a bit of a time. I let a minute or so pass. I don't even know, right? Because in that moment you don't have a time feeling. So that I come up the stairs and I go back like into the kitchen, and I run and I grab my phone, and I'm holding my phone because I was like, all right, well, if I do need to call 911, like I don't know what just happened. I don't know what happened. So I give it a few minutes. Like there's no more doorbell. There's nothing. It's kind of calm. So now I go back to the back door. So I've got the lights on. I turn on the light inside the house, and I go to turn the doorknob, and the doorknob is just turning, but it's not actually like unlatching or whatever the word would be. The little, I can't remember what you call it. The doorknob is spinning basically, and nothing is actually, the mechanics of it, the springs and everything aren't actually opening the door. And that was when I realized, I was like, well, the door is stuck. And then when I looked between in the door crevice, in the crack or the door jamb, I don't know what it's called, I could see that it was sort of ballooned out a little bit. So I was very confused by this. And so I was like, I guess my door is broken. I mean, I can't turn the doorknob to open it, and then it looks like it's busted kind of in. And so that was when I called I called my parents, and I said, I need you to come here because I've got to go to the hardware store. I've got to like fix my door. I said, my door is broken. And my mom was like, what are you talking about? I said, well, the doorknob, I've got to go buy a new doorknob. I can't open the door. I can't get out. So I'll have to go through the front or something. But like, can you come over here? And my parents live about not even a 10-minute drive. I mean, they're maybe a 5-minute drive away. And I said, yeah, it was just really weird. The doorbell, and I think I saw someone, still totally not even thinking, oh, hey, somebody was trying to break into my house just now, right? Like, that's just how, because you don't expect that to happen to you either. So she said, well, it sounds like, you should probably call the cops. And I said, and here's me just sort of downplaying it, going, well, I just got to go buy a new doorknob. I don't know, my door's broken. Crime victim, but not even realizing it. So she says she'll come by. Both of my parents actually came, and then I had called 911 as they were on their way. And so they said, did they, get in? I said, no, I guess it's just my door broken, but I'm going to stay in the house. I'll lock the door and everything, but I don't know. So then, thankfully, again, because we're in a rich area, police are on the scene very, very fast. And then when they got to the house, they had said that they'd had calls from even down the street where it just seems like whoever, or if it was one person, two people, they don't know, they've had calls about the exact same kind of a thing. So they had said for me and my dogs to stay in the house because they were going to be bringing in one of their dogs to then, either start at my house or wherever the first call came from, right? And then kind of work their way down the street and then perhaps... But the thing was that it was a nice evening out, and so you're going to have a lot of people out, walking around, and so, the whiff is in the air, for the dog. So I said, all right, we'll stay inside. I said, but my parents are on the way, so they're going to, have to come in if that's okay. He's like, yeah, but everybody's going to stay in the house. I said, fine, whatever. So the police come around to the side door, and there is a noticeable dent lower by the... underneath it, like beneath the doorknob, like lower, the bottom half of the door had kind of like a dent mark. And so the police officer said, well, that's, if you look, that would be about how high your leg would go if you just kind of put your leg out and you try to kick a door in. And I said, oh my God, so they tried to kick in my door. He said, well, that's basically what it looks like. Now, I didn't have a security light or anything in the back. I just had the regular light. Didn't have one of those like motion sensor kinds of things. And again, like I said, we're going back over 10 years ago. I would say this was even maybe 12 or maybe 15 years ago. So again, doorbell cameras and all that stuff weren't really a thing back then. But you had those motion sensors, right? The lights would just come on if it, that's kind of the security technology that you had back then. So it was great because I was terrified at that point. I mean, and you get into this weird feeling like you'd think that you wouldn't feel safe in your house and you wouldn't want to be there anymore. For me, it was the exact opposite. I didn't want to leave my house. I wanted to stay. I didn't want to go anywhere. I think I had to go somewhere the next day, and I was just like, no, I'm staying here. I'm not leaving my house. Maybe that was just because, what would happen if I wasn't home and all of a sudden they did get it and now my dogs are gone, right? And or not just my stuff is stolen, but I mean I could come home. The burglars aren't going to go and nicely close the gate and just leave your dogs in the yard. That's not going to happen, right? So I didn't want to. I was just terrified, and I stayed in the house. And so the police ended up following up a day or two later, and then I was actually not home the second day. I think it was when they came by, and there was a card left in my door. The detective or the sergeant or whoever it was had said to call her, and so I called her, and it was really nice because she'd followed up, and she's like, well, you've got some kind of like, there's some big trees here, so it obstructs the view. You could do a security light, you could also trim this tree, and you could also, and I thought that's really cool. I didn't realize that police would do that. But again, for the amount of taxes I pay in my rich neighborhood, I deserve it. I should have said, for the amount that I'm paying here, one of you should be stationed on the property at all times. But it was really nice. They were very helpful. I don't know, as far as I know, they didn't find it, and the dogs couldn't track it or whatever they said that night. But anyway, so yes, I am a crime survivor in a sense. But anyway, so that's this. I wasn't even planning on telling the story, and I've blown through half the show. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a break. I'm going to come back, and I'm going to give you those 3 crime prevention tips that I was teasing at the start of the show.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
JB here on the Scribble. So let's continue on with the house protection idea that I had. Now, this was something that I had come up with, and it's mostly a nighttime kind of a thing. That if if somebody comes up and rings your doorbell at night, and you don't have one of those cameras that you can talk to them and go, "What do you want? Who the hell are you? Get off my property," kind of a thing. You can scare the shit out of them with, okay, write this down. You get one of those little laser pointers. And I thought about this one day when I was looking out our back window, and our backyard has a pool, and we got a nice little area. And I kind of thought about that. I thought this would be hilarious, because just think about if somebody's out in your backyard, right? You're in a backyard, and then all of a sudden you see a red laser beam coming from the kitchen window. You're not going to know if that's a laser on a gun, if that's what the hell that is, right? You just see this red laser pointing at you in the backyard. I would take off. I don't know. I don't see what's in the house. I don't know. Is that a gun pointed at me? I have no idea. Don't you? Isn't that a brilliant idea? Just to scare the shit out of somebody to get off your property? I would totally do that. I would totally go to the dollar store and get a laser pointer. Even do it even at the front door. If there's a way that they could, I'm not saying point at their eyes or whatever. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is point it, in their direction or at them, or even just out the window. So it's in front of them or something, or, and then they'll be like, "Oh shit, there's a laser beam on me." I think that's funny. It's a creative way to protect your property. Cheap, right? A dollar, go to a dollar store, whatever. Toy store or something. And, yeah. So if you have one of those, and I'm saying if it's dark, right, that's when it's going to be most effective, because they're going to see this little beam coming at them. So that's one way to protect your property at night is, if somebody's in your backyard, you have a little laser pointer on the windowsill or something when you notice, or if you just, right? And they wouldn't be able to see you because it's dark inside, right? I mean, same thing with us. There's no lights on in our kitchen at night when we're just at home. Why would we have lights on? Again, because we're not in that room. Why, we don't need it. We can basically navigate our house in the dark. Even though it's a big house, we can still get, find our way around. So that's my one house crime prevention tip for you, okay? Now, I mentioned my dogs. So I said earlier about how, in Los Angeles, you have these dog thefts, which is just kind of weird. To me, I don't understand why. Okay, wait. This is gonna sound really weird. I understand. I'm not condoning crime. I already know what I want to say, and now I'm thinking of the disclaimers that I've got to give you so we don't get in shit. Okay, crime is bad, stealing is bad, animal cruelty is bad, right? Let me just put that out there. Okay. So I don't understand why you would steal a pet who, has an emotional attachment to people, who has a routine, who has, who knows its name, things like that, right? I don't understand that. I understand, again, I don't condone, but I understand stealing one from, a pet store or whatever, although I don't think that pets... in Canada, I don't know. There are still pet stores that sell dogs. In Canada, I believe it's only adoption, well, quote-unquote adoption from a shelter. I don't know that they're allowed to buy from puppy mills and whatever. I don't think that it can be an actual purchase. I don't think that they're allowed to do that anymore. But anyway, so that's what I'm saying, is I understand getting one, stealing one from one that doesn't have an emotional connection to a family or to a home or to surroundings. I mean, I guess in a shelter or whatever, they are going to get comfortable around their surroundings after a while. So again, I'm not condoning stealing. I'm not condoning any of that kind of stuff. I'm just saying, I don't understand why you'd want to take it from a family, just because at the same time, you also just don't really know in general, the overall health of the dog and things like that. So I thought about this one day when I was out walking my dogs. What would I do? What's going to happen if all of a sudden somebody just comes up to me with, a knife or whatever and says, "Okay, give me your dogs." because as we know, a golden retriever is one of the most popular dog breeds. It was for years, actually, the number one. I don't know what it is now. And then, I mean, a husky, certain people really like a husky. My cousin had always wanted a husky, and he actually it's good because he babysits, he dog sits, because he's always wanted a husky. But anyway, so, they're well-behaved dogs. So if there is somebody who's watching us when we're out walking, they're going to see that, oh, these dogs are really good on a leash, and they know their thing. So my initial thought was I would go and say to the person, whoever's dog jacking me, I would just say, well, okay, so he has diabetes and needs, this type of medication, and I would just make up a name. He needs medication, twice a day. It's about $600 a week for the medication, so he's going to need that twice a day. So you're going to have to give that to him. You can get a prescription or you can buy whatever. He also has cancer, so he's actually about to go for surgery, which they'd said is going to be about $5,000-$6,000. So his cancer is kind of taking over, and he's got, a swollen intestine, and so he's really got some health issues. So make sure that he's already got an appointment at the vet, so if you could just take him to the vet. So that's going to be about $5,000-$6,000. This one's about $600 a week for the medication. Did you want their vet's phone number just so you can keep their appointments and everything? Do you think that's smart? Would you do that and just go and say, like, he's got health conditions, so I mean, if you're, you want him, I mean, now again, I don't know how many times these people actually keep the animals. Maybe they steal them and then they go and sell them to somebody. So I mean, would they actually give a shit if they, no, they're just, they're going to take it and they're going to sell it to somebody. So it could work. It could work and just go, they're both really, this one's elderly, this one's, whatever, he's got problems, he destroys things, he bites, he chews things, he pisses on the floor, just give them the whole list of problems and conditions the dogs have. They might just go ahead and run and go, you keep the dogs. And then same thing I thought about, because as, I don't think that I've talked about it on this show for a very long time, but my staff knows, all of our teams know that I have been a BlackBerry user, shut up, and that's been since 2000. Well, it's been a long time, but BlackBerry was an advertiser on our syndicated radio shows. I think it was back in 2009 or 2010. And they were advertising with us for quite a while. They actually, their ad dollars pretty much helped pay for my first house. So they would send me a new phone every... they would send me one every year, and then I would just kind of stockpile them because I didn't need to change my phone every year. So I haven't had to buy a phone in a very long time because I still use them. So people don't realize that BlackBerries were still being made, not by RIM, Research in Motion in Canada, but they had licensed their name to a technology company that made these phones. So there were new BlackBerry models coming out up until about 6 years ago or so, about that. So the BlackBerry Key 2 was, I think, the last phone. So I have about 3 of those. And so one of the things that I thought of is, again, back out on the street where people are, jumped for, give me your phone, give me your headphones, give me your whatever, give me your wallet. Well, people are going to jack you for your phone. And so one of the funniest things I could do is all of a sudden go, it's a BlackBerry. Do you really want a BlackBerry? Seriously, and my other phone, this is where you're going to make fun of me, but here's the thing. BlackBerries are a powerhouse phone. So the Key 2, which is on the Android system or platform or whatever you call it, that's a very good phone. It's actually, people have complimented the picture quality that it takes. People have, it's a nice big screen. It's got the keyboard. It's a good looking phone, and it's got that BlackBerry integrity, meaning it's secure. Yeah. And then because I've got 3 phones, 2 of them are Key 2s, and then one of them is a BlackBerry Classic. I'm not shitting you. It is a 12-year-old phone, and it fits in the palm of your hand. It's one of those ones. It's one of those small BlackBerries. It does email and texting, and it gets to it gets to about 25% of the websites I go to now, because there's always some kind of like a error, I can't remember what it says on it. I don't have my phones in front of me when we do the show, so I can't actually tell you exactly what it says. But it basically gives a warning message that it's not a compatible website to go to. But that little BlackBerry Classic, which is... Say that again, Bonnie? It's 13 years old, mine? Oh, it's going to be 13 years? Okay, yeah. Because... she's telling me to tell you the battery story. I've got time for that? Yeah, I can do it? Okay. Yeah. So this phone is going to be 13 years old, and it's the one that I have my phone calls, texting, and emailing on. That's kind of my the basic communication. There's no social media or anything on it. There never was. So that's basically what that phone is for. The real like sort of core functions of the business for me: email, texting, and phoning. So I have that phone, and it was a few years ago now, which is why they're telling me it's because it was about 10 years old, almost 11 years old, when the phone would die really after about 25 minutes or so. And you would maybe get a good 5 minutes of talk time if it was fully charged when you started the call. So it became this issue where here I am trying to either do meetings or calls or whatever, and I would just drop out. And everybody's like, just get a new fucking phone already. And I said, but I really like this one. So, and you know, how easy is it to find a phone repair shop or, you know, phone technician that's like, oh yeah, I've got BlackBerry batteries in stock. It's not very common, especially for that phone that's, at the time, it was 10 years old. Well, sure as shit, we found one. Well, truthfully, I mean, you can find anything in Los Angeles, right? It's just a matter of either phoning around or whatever. I mean, if it's not in Los Angeles, then it doesn't exist, as far as I'm concerned. I didn't want to get, because I'd heard about, and it happened to me one time, where I did buy a power cord off of some random website, and I did have a Key 2. The cord started to smoke, and it made a sizzling sound, and it fried 2 BlackBerry Key 2 phones. Yeah. BlackBerry later told me that it was the cord that did it, because it wasn't an actual BlackBerry cord. So anyway, so we find a store that has a BlackBerry, an actual BlackBerry battery, not a knockoff, because I don't want my device exploding. So I go. I'd never been to a shop like that, because again, anytime we had an issue with BlackBerry, they would either just send me a new one, or they would fix something, or they would walk us through whatever it would be. And we didn't really have many issues anyway. So I go to the store. I didn't realize that you kind of sit with them on this like bar stool kind of a thing, and they take it apart and they look at it, and the guy's like, this is actually still a really good quality, you know, it's in good shape. There's no dings, there's no scratches, there's no whatever. I'm like, I take care of my phone. I've never broken a phone. I've never had a broken screen. I've never done anything like that to a phone. So he goes and he opens it up, and that's where, you know, the back is kind of like stuck to the thing. But again, it's 10 years old, you know. So he goes and he opens it up. He's like, oh, this is still the original battery. I said, yeah, nothing has changed. I said, it's 10 years, and I'm a talker, so my phone calls are not just like 30 seconds. I mean, so this is probably literally hundreds, if not thousands of hours of talk time on that phone. And he said, you know, so it's you're giving you, you know, a few minutes. And I said, it would be if you're not using it, right? So if you're not emailing, texting, whatever, if it's just on, if it's just idling, it could probably be a couple of hours. But if it's talk time, or if you're doing stuff with it, you know, a phone call is just, and it's not really even just giving the low battery warning, it's just dying at some point. So he had the battery, he installed it, and he said, yeah, that's pretty good. And then I showed him my Key 2, and he said, yeah, I've heard those are really good. And so it's a funny how, you know, BlackBerry had this reputation towards the end, well, halfway through, before it closed or shut down, for mobile devices anyway, that they're out of date, they're old school, whatever. And yes, they were to a point, but once they got onto the Android system, I swear by them. I mean, our office runs on them. Our e-commerce stores, each of them has a company phone. Whoever's manning the store that day, or whoever's doing the social media, it uses a BlackBerry Key 2. So our company our content is produced on them. It's great. So tell me if you are, just in case, first of all, crime prevention tips, what do you think of them? And then BlackBerry users, do you still have a BlackBerry? When was the last time you used a BlackBerry? What was your favorite one? Send me an email, live, live, at jbonair.com, live at jbonair.com. My name is Jeremy Bradley. This is The Scribble. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will talk to you next time. Bye-bye for now, everybody.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up The Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com. Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some real